Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer at Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I'm Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of Geek Vibes Nation and also a co host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Attic new release roundup. As always, we have some really exciting titles, but I'm going to throw it back to you, Dillon, because you're going to kick this party off.
Yes, and I'm starting off with a giveaway, and this is one of our most exciting giveaways yet. I want to preface this by saying the display that I'm showing you is a 4K, but I'm giving away the Blu-ray, so don't freak out, anyone. But still awesome. Disney is giving us 5 Blu-ray copies to give away on the Video Attic. It comes out September 13th. Like I said, this is a 4K, which is awesome, but it does include the Blu-ray and along with a ton of special features. So here's the 4K disc, but you got the Blu-ray over here, and it'll come with a Blu-ray and DVD. It has a audio commentary, several featurettes, and the film in high definition. And this is the newest one from Pixar, and it voices Chris Evans. And you could be one of the first to own it once this comes out. And so, like I said, this comes out September 13th, and this one's going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I'm choosing a winner on September 15th, which is a Thursday. And all you have to do to enter to win is just comment on this video with the release that we talk about that you're most excited to check out. That's all you got to do. You can win one of 5 Blu-ray copies of Lightyear, which highly recommend it. It's a great film, and I'm so excited. Thank you to Disney for setting this up for us. It's going to be such a fun time for our viewers.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, like that's I admit I have not seen it. I am holding out for the 4K, which I'm sure you'll be talking about, but yeah, that's sounds really awesome.
Absolutely. And speaking of 4K, I'm going to just jump right into my first title. I'm also very excited about. It's from our good friends at Scream Factory, and that is the new 4K release of The Funhouse from director Tobe Hooper, which I had actually not seen this before. And as we'll probably talk about later in the month when Poltergeist comes out, I have not seen a lot of Tobe Hooper movies, so I need to get caught up. But I'm excited to do so in 4K. And this does have reversible cover art, which I like quite a bit on this side. It's a little bit gnarly. And I would just say I knew nothing about this movie going into it besides just seeing the cover and knowing it was directed by Tobe Hooper, and it was a lot of fun. Have you seen this one before?
Yes, I love this movie. I'm very excited to hear what you think.
Yes. So here you have the regular disc art on the 4K, and then the reversible on the Blu-ray that's included. And so really quickly, just about the movie itself. It's such a interesting movie. It's just about a girl who's going out on a first date with her friends, like a group date to a carnival, and they decide that they're going to attempt to stay overnight, kind of like hide away and stay in overnight. And of course, they get caught in a scenario where they are surrounded by people who are like, one of them has like committed murder, and then they want to try to cover it up, and there's just a lot of like carnival weirdness going on. They kind of get caught in the middle of it. It's just like wrong place, wrong time. They should not have decided to stay overnight. And this one I like quite a bit. I really like the final girl, the lead girl that's in the movie. I really liked her. She's kind of has like a nice innocence about her, but she's tough whenever she needs to be, whenever it comes time to like facing some of these obstacles, some of these antagonists. But what I really like about this is the practical special effects. Like the makeup work in this is pretty amazing. There's some pretty gnarly creature design, which you kind of get a taste of with that reversible cover art. There's some very colorful personalities like within the carnival folk themselves. and I think, is it Kevin Conroy? Is that who's the carnival barker? I know yeah, Kevin Conway. Sorry,
Uh,
not Batman.
I was
Kevin
gonna say,
Conroy.
wow, I
Kevin Conway's, because I know he did an interview for this release. So I was getting it confused in my head, but like he plays a very interesting personality along with a lot of the other characters, and it's kind of like a little bit of like a survive the night type horror film, a little bit of like a carnival of terrors type horror film. It's really fun, and like this is a really great discovery for 4K, and this release looks fantastic. It comes from a new 4K scan of the original camera negative. It's in Dolby Vision, comes with the original 2.0 DTS and a 5.1 soundtrack, both of which sound really great. It carries over, from what I can tell, all the legacy special features and includes some new interviews as well. So it has the audio commentary from Toby Hooper. It has pretty much all of the main cast members besides the main final girl. They're interviewed. The special effects artist, the composer, all of those interviews range from about 10 to 20 minutes. And there's several of them. There's like 7 or 8 interviews just with the cast alone, in addition to like some radio spots and trailers and other like brief featurettes. So you really get your money's worth with this release. And this, like I said, if you haven't seen this is fun. If you're a fan of it, it's the ultimate release in my opinion. So I know you'll want to pick this up. A lot of our fans will want to pick this up. Scream Factory did a really good job with this, and especially with the Dolby Vision in a carnival setting with all those like colorful lights. Chef's kiss. It's great. So
yeah,
it's really fun.
I love this movie. I'll keep my thoughts super brief, but yeah, it's funny. I didn't really like this when I first saw it, but it was a movie that sort of has grown on me over the years. But yeah, I love it. I love how strange it is. I love how there's just weird little moments that really don't tie into the movie, but just makes it weird, like the kid getting a ride,
Oh yeah.
or I'm trying to think of a eloquent way to put this, but the sex worker and the well, he's like the main like monster,
Yeah.
and how he's like wearing that mask, and they're like uh
Yeah. The
things
Frankenstein mask. Yeah.
yeah, so that whole thing is a vibe. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's, I love that we're living in an age where so many Toby Hooper movies are getting 4Ks, like these
Yeah.
on like Life Force and the Funhouse, and now we're getting Poltergeist soon, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. My first title is one that I was pretty disappointed. I'm not a huge comic book fan, but this is like a series that I kind of got interested in comic wise, and that is Naomi,
Mhm.
season one and the complete season. So slip cover here. So there's the back. It does have some features, which is pretty awesome. This does have a digital copy. It's not in there right now. And there's the discs and the episode list. So I know you watch some CW superhero stuff. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I plowed through it in like 2 days last week because I also got a copy in. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so this is pretty infamous for being canceled just days after the finale. And I really wanted to like it because I do like the comics. Naomi is a fairly new comic book character. I believe she was created in 2019. And yeah, it's just very underwritten. One of my biggest complaints is she's got this ridiculous power set, but she like has no problems using it. She has no like hero's journey as far as like grappling with these powers. She just knows how to use them. She's just really good at it. um it's a little frustrating, and I'm not a huge fan of like superheroes that are overpowered. um and like it just seems like they keep piling on abilities after abilities. And I know they're kind of mirroring. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. They are trying to kind of mirror Superman, who is kind of
Mhm.
like a big part of this series. And I won't spoil any of that, but like, so I get it, but it's just like it wasn't compelling for me. And again, it just felt a little like a slog. Like I just wish they would have taken their time with this because she doesn't have a huge comic book run, but I think it was pretty interesting, and it really did not do this character justice. What did you think?
Yeah, I don't agree completely with you. I mean, I agree with some of your criticisms. I think that they did try to pile in a lot into this one season, and the fact is, it unfortunately does end on like a major cliffhanger that we'll never get resolution to. I do think that they did attempt to try to have her not exactly grappling like with what her powers mean to her, but more so testing the limits of it. Because I can just, not to spoil anything, there is an episode, kind of, I think it's like episode 9 or so, where like she is put into this like conflict where she's like can choose between two groups of people, and she like has to try to figure out if she's like willing to sacrifice one group or if she can somehow tap into something within inside her that could possibly uh save both of them. So like kind of that, her discovering new layers of her power, I think they do try to like unveil that throughout the season. But I do agree that like they, it's not your typical like spend a couple episodes her trying to be like, what, who am I, what am, like she is asking who she is, but not on like a power level, more on like a existential, who are my parents, because she's adopted, and there's a lot of personal drama, not so much like internal conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, I guess maybe because I'm a big fan of the source material that I just thought it was a little bit lacking. But
Mhm.
this is a really good release though. It looks great on Blu-ray. Again, they didn't just dump this out. They did put a little bit of extra stuff on it, which is nice. I'm always a big fan of a little like something extra to get you interested in buying it, rather than just getting it on like on VOD or something. So yeah, like hats off to Warner Brothers for not just like completely dumping this out on Blu-ray. Like it does have a little something extra. So yeah, it was fine. It just felt a little bit lethargic for me as far as like pacing and character, but it has some decent moments.
Yeah, if anyone's watched the CW's like DC output in recent years, they kind of know what to expect because it's not very that much different. Like Superman and Lois is a little bit of a different beast, but like pretty much everything in the Arrowverse,
Mm.
it's kind of like pretty good, not great. Like it's just like serviceable pretty much. And like I felt like I had a good time with this. Will I be revisiting it a ton? No, but like it was, I enjoyed it in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to my next release. It is one from Arrow Video, and it is Running Out of Time 1 and 2, which just recently came out. It is a 2-disc set from two films by, I think it's Johnny Toe, but I could be wrong about that pronunciation. So here is the reversible cover art with the original like theatrical artwork. So yeah, let me just finish showing this off. So there's a booklet and like a, yeah, booklet here. It's got like a essays, and this is just a card that comes with it. Mine happened to be this release, but just normal Arrow card. And yes, there's disc 1 running out of time, and disc 2 running out of time too. So yeah, I had actually never seen these films. I had only kind of recently started to learn about Johnny To and his movies because I saw that the Criterion Collection had announced Throwdown last year, and I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this director. And I quite enjoyed these films. It's basically Andy Lau, I believe. He plays a detective over the course of 2 of these films, and it's basically kind of like a cat and mouse detective film. But with like kind of a lighter tone. It in both films, like the first one is the better of the 2 films. The second one kind of just tries to do a similar thing, but like slightly different, but not executed as well. It's basically a detective. He's kind of like the brightest like police officer in his force, and he's kind of like there's some bumbling like detectives around him who are always like kind of like calling him out for his methods, but then they end up making situations worse for themselves. But pretty much the whole purpose of this is to have like a square off between a battle of the minds between this detective and the person who is committing crimes, which in the first film is a person who has just learned that they don't have that long to live, and they want to like pull off this like complex series of crimes which keep the police guessing, and this one detective is the only one that's kind of piecing it together correctly and being a formidable adversary in this kind of cat and mouse game. And both of them kind of play out pretty like in interesting ways. The dynamics between the law enforcement officer and the crook, they kind of like evolve throughout the film. They sometimes have like a mutual admiration of each other's skills and that type of situation. It's like has a nice like sense of pace. The acting's really great. It has some nice comedic moments, some action-packed moments. And both films kind of evolved really like in interesting ways. And I think Arrow Video, I understand why they released this because these are both very entertaining. And this release is pretty stacked. The first film, it comes with 2 audio commentaries and an interview with several interviews with the screenwriters. There's like 2 interview featurettes, and then there's interviews with the director Johnny To, and then like some of the actors. And then the second film, it also has a commentary, and then a 50-minute documentary kind of on Hong Kong cinema, and kind of especially the screenwriters I believe are French, and it's kind of like talks about like the Hong Kong cinema and how like sometimes like how outsiders fare with inside that system, which is kind of interesting. And overall, this is just like a nice release. It gives you the films over 2 discs, so they're not like crammed on 1 disc. Thankfully, it has plenty of room for like these like new 2K restorations to look great. There's not like a lot of compression artifacts. They've been cleaned up really well. I believe it comes in the Mandarin and Cantonese, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, in 2.0, along with like an English language track as well, which the second film actually has several stretches in English, which I found to be an interesting development. I think they're trying to appeal more to like English speaking, like international audiences. But both of these, they're good. I enjoyed it. Arrow Video did a nice job with this set. And I highly recommend it if you're a fan of like Johnny To, or just like nice cat and mouse like thrillers.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, never heard of those, but I will definitely have to put that on my ever-growing list of things to watch.
We have such big lists, don't we?
Yeah. Ever expanding. But
Yeah.
so I always try to have a movie that I think is maybe not going to get a lot of attention, but I think is pretty worthwhile. And that one this week is We Are as Gods. And now, have you seen this or heard of this? Okay,
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So it's about Stuart Brand, and he was kind of this leader of this 60s counterculture, but he's most famous for writing what's called the Whole Earth catalog, which was this huge like I gather it was kind of like a periodical like magazine. And like Steve Jobs has gone on record saying it was an Apple computer manual decades before that brand even existed. And he also was kind of big in the hippie movement. He hung out with Ken Kesey, which is really famous. He wrote One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest, and had like he was pretty huge in that like 60s counterculture movement. So they talk a lot about his sort of impact on the 60s counterculture, but also like his like efforts with like species preservation, which is really interesting and kind of wild. Like they talk about like actually being able to like bring back like a woolly mammoth, for example. And
Nice.
I'm thinking like Jurassic Park. Like this is like Jurassic Park stuff that they're
Yeah.
trying to do. But I was not expecting that element of this documentary, and I think it was fascinating. So this movie is kind of a mixture of like his life and his impact on the 60s culture, but also like his journey through trying to bring back these different species. And it seems like such a weird mix of things, but the documentary does a really good job of like blending those two subjects together, that and it makes it actually feel really coherent. So I thought it was really fascinating. It is a really breezy watch. It's only 94 minutes long. There's no features, unfortunately, but I do think it is a worthwhile watch to I mean, especially like I really knew nothing about this guy. Like I've heard of Ken Kesey before, but like I've never like heard of this guy or the whole Earth catalog. So I always like documentaries where I'm like, educate me. I know nothing about this subject. And
Yeah.
I think the hallmark of a good documentary is like, going into it and actually feeling like the subject. Like they laid it out in a way that feels easy to understand. And I think this does that. So We Are as Gods, I highly recommend it. It's again, it's not a title that everybody's going to be like talking about, but I think if you are even remotely interested in like counterculture, um, like ornithology and stuff like that, like you'll definitely want to check that out.
That sounds cool. I'm a big documentary fan, so I'll have to check that out. My next title is a new release from Lionsgate, and that is Paradise Highway, which I'm not sure if people can identify her by sight, but that is Juliette Binoche. That's Morgan Freeman and Frank Grillo. And just the fact that Juliette Binoche was in this movie, I was like, what is she doing here? I need to see this movie to see what is going on. And after seeing the movie, I will say, I still don't know what she's doing here. I think she lost a bet or something. I don't know. Because she's just like an acclaimed French actress who's just usually like art house fare. And to see her in this kind of like middling to lower tier American thriller is just wild to me. They kind of try to explain her presence away by saying she's from Quebec. So there's like some French like connection there. But like the fact that they say that her brother is Frank Grillo, I'm not buying it. What is going on here? Anyway, so this movie is not great. It's has moments, but the basic premise of this is that Juliette Binoche, acclaimed French actress, plays a long haul truck driver who is like her brother Frank Grillo is in prison and he is like on the verge of like hitting parole. He's so close, but he is of course has some debts to pay in prison. He is kind of like under the thumb of some dangerous people. Juliette's character, you can kind of tell from the beginning that she's like has her like baggage from the past. She's not the most stable person, but I think she's been doing like small things for her brother to like while he's in jail, but she's asked to do like one final thing. And that final thing is to deliver a package. And of course, like whenever she goes to like actually pull off this favor for her brother, for his criminal friends, she learns that she's actually human trafficking a young girl. Yes, this movie is something. Um, but and she's like, what's weird for me is like she has such love for her brother that she's actually just going to go through with it and send this girl off with this human trafficker. Before, this isn't really a spoiler, it's what kicks off everything. The girl that she leaves behind in her truck before the handoff kills the guy that she's about to be handed off to, and it sends both the young girl and Juliette Binoche off on this like survival spree, trying to like evade these criminals who are want their little girl that they're going to human traffic. And I know this film, it it's supposed to be like, it's supposed to be drawing attention to human trafficking. It's and like it's trying to like draw connections to like draw attention to some of how law enforcement often overlook some of these cases because they're like not important. Like the people who are disappearing are not important. You get some of those types of cop characters throughout that are like kind of bumbling and uncaring, but you also do have Morgan Freeman playing a cop who like is supposed to represent the other side of the system, who is trying to, he's like retired but he's coming back to try to like help steer the younger generation, one of which is played by Cameron Monaghan, who's a pretty interesting actor. He was on Gotham. He played kind of the Joker-esque figure on Gotham. So, but then that whole storyline really doesn't make sense within the, like, it's not necessary to this movie. It's kind of like a whole plot thread that doesn't really add anything to this movie. Like, they're trying to help just like figure out what is happening with this human trafficking case, but ultimately they're ineffectual and they're not needed in this movie. And then like just the whole angle of this main character, what she's trying to do, and like how she eventually does become attached to this young girl and doesn't want to, like, she never wants harm to come to her, but then she starts to become an actual like protector of her. It never really seems earned, but just because of like how this film starts out, I know she's a broken character, but it's a really odd film. It just, there's too many points about this movie where it just rang false for me. I can see what they were trying to do, and the director, she does like a decent job of like constructing everything, but it's just like I think there's just problems with the story itself that's like kind of clumsily handled. And like, I know there is a director's commentary on this. I haven't listened to it yet. It might help try to clarify some of her intentions. I will talk about it in my written review. But this movie didn't really, it just seemed like all the people in this movie were kind of just there for a paycheck. And then like the story itself was just kind of like cringy at points and kind of like not like some of the emotions that they tried to go for were not really earned. So, yeah, like I said, there's an audio commentary, there's some deleted scenes, there's a making of, but I would try before you buy, if you can find a way to like stream this for free or for cheap. Make sure that it is something you like before you go out to buy it, because it's not great.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
I was gonna say, I was like, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks like, the cover definitely looks like pretty generic. Like,
Yeah,
like one of those like straight to
yeah,
video.
yeah. You got people down here. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that sounds like one that I will probably end up missing.
That's fine.
So my next title is another documentary, and this is Unity Temple, and it is a pretty famous Frank Lloyd Wright building.
Mm.
Here's the back. So this is kind of weird because this is narrated by Brad Pitt, which I really wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
I, I I mean, it wasn't really a draw for me, but it's not a minus either. So this is a pretty breezy documentary. It's only 55 minutes long, and it tells like pretty much two stories. It kind of tells a little bit about the life of Frank Lloyd Wright, and of course how he like got started. And Unity Temple is was I believe they said it was his first public design. So you know, it's pretty fascinating. So like it was interesting because the bulk of the documentary actually takes you through the process of restoring this you know, like masterpiece of architect. And I don't like again, I don't know a lot about Frank Lloyd Wright, but that's kind of half the fun. I liked like learning about his style, his technique. Again, they go kind of into his like background and how they kind of took a chance on him to do this project to begin with. He was virtually unknown. So it was kind of like his one shot to really show like what he could do. And you know, the rest is history. We all know who that is. So um yeah, so it was pretty fascinating. I will say that I liked how it's very short, so it never really overstays its welcome. So if you are even at least a little bit interested in the subject matter, I think there is enough really good stuff there to keep it engaging. Like I said, I liked how, you know, they actually show you the process and they interview the congregation of the church. And like it's not just a you know, paint by number, like this is the history of the building. They actually like talk about the people that inhabit it. And I think that that kind of gives it a like richness that, you know, otherwise maybe wouldn't be there because, you know, it's like I really liked hearing from the people that actually like work in this building and treasure it, and like it gives it such a humanity. But then you have experts talking about like, you know, Frank Lloyd Wright's style and like his process, and I found that all really interesting. So I think it all like gels together really nicely. So there is a little bit of extras. There is a 47-minute panel. um there is a trailer, an alternate trailer, and a photo gallery. And then there's the pitster right here.
Yay!
Um, but yeah, no, and what's funny is his narration is not really that long. But for whatever reason, I guess maybe he's really into Frank Lloyd Wright, or this project kind of spoke to him. I don't really know a whole lot about like Unitarians, but I guess that was actually personal to Frank Lloyd Wright because I believe that he was raised in that church. So I think that's kind of what drew him to this project, which I also found really interesting. So yeah, again, it's another like the other documentary that I talked about. It's probably one that's not going to get talked about a lot. Maybe it will a little bit because of Brad Pitt's involvement, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and it's another one that I kind of recommend, especially if you are interested in Frank Lloyd Wright, if you're interested in like this particular building. I mean, like I know this is so like dumb, but like my frame of reference for Frank Lloyd Wright is he did the house from House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which will be my house someday. Like
Good luck.
yeah, I think it just sold for like $20 million.
Mhm.
Like crazy. Someday. But yeah, so pretty interesting though. Again, I enjoyed it. It is a little jarring with Brad Pitt's narration, but yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Uh, I am going into a foreign context. I'm going over to France with the uh, sensual drama Nathalie from Cohen Media.
Okay.
Yeah, look, just a nice stripper pole there. Uh, this one I did not know too much about, but I try pretty much everything from Cohen Media out, just because I like them so much, and I thought I'd give this a shot. What I figured out pretty quickly into this one, when I started like kind of looking up just bare facts about it. I believe this was actually remade in recent years, like 2009, with this film called Chloe with Amanda Seyfried and Julianne Moore. So I haven't seen that movie. I know like kind of what it's about. So I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of the inspiration for that. So Nathalie, it's interesting. It has Fanny Ardant and Gerard Depardieu and Emmanuel Bier. Um, so basically, Gerard Depardieu and Fanny Ardant play a married couple. She learns that her husband, who they've been together for a long time, they're kind of like in their 40s, 50s, but I guess as is to expected to be from a modern Frenchman, he has his affairs, and she's kind of hurt by this, but she's also kind of intrigued by this. So she takes it upon herself to kind of learn more about what like his life is like whenever he's out of the house and who he's with. And she ends up connecting with this sex worker or stripper, and kind of but becoming friends is kind of a loose term, but becoming attached to this woman who has been with her husband, but also she's trying to understand her and like what he gets from like other women, and also like, learning things about herself and with her own dynamics with this woman and stuff. And she just it's kind of like an interesting erotic like psychological exploration of like your own like physical desires and intimacy, and like what different people like how they fulfill other people emotionally and physically, and all that type of stuff is kind of wrapped up in this. Is it perfect? I would say no, but I think it's a fairly engaging movie. It's not as like trashy as I maybe this cover would lead you to believe. There is like some nudity, but it's not as much as like You're the Jellyfish, which we talked about a while, where it was like wall to wall nudity. But it's like it's a tastefully done French erotic psychological drama, and the performances are good. It's fairly engaging throughout. I believe it's like an hour and 45 minutes, so it's like pretty much in a nice sweet spot where it's not like too long, but they give you time to develop the characters. Overall, I think they did a good job. There are really no special features in this. It's just like this film in high definition, English subtitles burned in. So if you've been wanting to see this movie, if you're a fan of the director or the cast, it's a good release. It's pretty bare bones, but good high definition transfer. There's no like major blemishes or anything. Nice color saturation. Sounds good. It's a solid release. If it sounds interesting, try it out. If you don't want a French psychological sexual drama, keep on moving.
I
You're good.
mean, but who doesn't want a psychological French erotic thriller?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I definitely want to check that out. This is like 2 weeks in a row where you've had some like very provocative covers. Um,
Yeah,
because
that's me. I'm just like, I'll try it out. Sure, why not?
yeah, I'm trying to think what was the title you did last week that had a little bit of a racy cover.
Oh, I don't know. I talk about so many messed up things. I don't. I'll have to think. I'll get back to you.
um, well, until then, I don't know a good segue into this, but Star Trek, the motion picture, and so so here's a slipcover situation. Now, what's nice is there's a director's cut and that is included. So there's also a digital copy. That will be in there. That's not in there now. So before I get into this, there is a couple different editions of this. They are doing these individually, 1 through 6. Um, and they're also doing like a box set of all 6, and then they're doing like a deluxe edition, where I think like the difference is it has like a bunch of extras, like paper stuff with it. So I can link all those in the description. But just to say, if you like the other movies and are wondering if you know 2 through 6 are getting released, they are. Um I was gonna do them all, but I only got 1, 5, and 6, so I didn't get the other 3 yet. So that's why I'm starting out with the OG, and I think we're just gonna work our way through. Have you seen this?
No, would you mind pausing it just for a second?
Oh, yeah.
All
Um,
right. Yeah,
oh,
you asked if I had seen this. So we paused just a second because I thought you were possibly going to be doing all of them. I will show this off at the end of your selection. This is like the full
hmm,
6 film thing that I can just kind of give a package
oh,
overview.
nice.
I haven't been able to dig into it in depth yet, but just for our fans who want to get a look at the packaging, I can show that off in a little bit.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, so this is, I don't know, it's interesting because I know the first film doesn't get a lot of love, and I kind of don't understand. I understand a little bit, I guess. I'll get into, but Robert Wise, I think, was a pretty interesting choice to helm the first Star Trek movie, and um, I really love how Wise completely understands the pulpy sci-fi quality of the show. The visuals in this movie are truly groundbreaking stuff for its time. I think you would probably look at this and say it looks a little like the effects look a little dated, but I don't know. I think the movie was released in 1979, and I think like post Star Wars, this is like really incredible. I certainly think that fans wanting kind of a big budget version of the series, certainly definitely got it with this. The narrative is a little bit wonky, but I will say I like the overall kind of theme of free will, and um, this is something that the original show really played with a lot. And I don't know, it has great characters. I think everybody does a great job acting wise. Again, I think visually it's stunning, and yeah, I think this 4K looks really fantastic. I haven't seen, so I believe that this is the same transfer as the previous 4K that was released in a 1 through 4 box set, 4K and Blu-ray. And that looked fantastic. This features a director's cut, and so I'm not really going to get into the differences, but I did find a really good video that breaks down the differences between the original and the director's cut, and I will link that in the description if y'all are curious. But just to say, I kind of prefer the director's cut, and I'm glad that it's like on here. This ports over all the legacy features, and it also includes some like really fun extra new stuff. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. Again, here's a better look at it. And then you had the complete series.
Yeah, really quickly, just from my memory, I believe that like this new like director's cut, they didn't like I said, like you said, it wasn't included in the 1 through 4 set, which I have reviewed. So I've seen the original theatrical cut last year when that was released. I believe this new one they took a little bit longer to have to like restore everything because there's like special effects and a lot of updating that needed to be done. So I believe that's now out in like Dolby Vision, and like it's all bells and whistles and stuff. And I believe that that kind of deluxe package just for this first entry that you talked about that they have out, I believe it might have an extra disc that may have like a television cut or something like that that's not included on anything else. So if you want
okay.
everything, I think you need to either like buy this and that, or buy them individually. But for the first one, get the deluxe bells and
Okay.
whistle packaging. I'll have to
So-
live without the television cut myself, but I think that's how it works out. But this film, I had the 1 through 4 set. Now I have the 1 through 6 sets, all the original cast. So
Nice.
you get a full 4K set and Blu-ray set for these, and this does come with a digital copy with individual codes for each one. So you have the director's cut here, the original motion picture cut, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here, and it's just basically the same thing for the Blu-ray set. Yeah, these are identical
Nice.
cover art wise. So yeah, just standard Blu-rays. So not going to like linger on those, but just know these are keep cases. Each one gets their own individual hub, and yeah, it's nice, compact, and yeah. So Star Trek fans, if you didn't buy the 1 through 4 set, I think this is the way to go. But if you already have the 1 through 4 set, they did release it so you can just pick up piecemeal what you need,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah, that's really nice because again, if you're just a fan of maybe like I know like people usually say like part 2 is the definitive one. If you just want that, it's going to be released. These are all going to be individually released. And as you showed, it's going to have a box set and then another separate deluxe set. Which by all accounts looks pretty cool, but I am not that hardcore of a fan, so I'll probably, unless it goes super on sale, I'll probably hold off on that. But really nice set, and yeah, it is worth it for the director's cut alone, as I said, and as you pointed out, like it's really great. Paramount has been killing it lately with not just dumping their stuff out on 4K, like they really put a lot of time and effort into this. So well worth it. I'm so happy that I'm going to have all of these to, add to my collection. And again, it's nice because if you want the box set, you can get it. If you want just a few of the individual titles, they give you that option too. So
Yeah. And I know a lot of people just like to have the individuals just because they like the cover art for each of them. I know a lot of people rebought the Indiana Jones 4K steelbooks just because they loved the packaging so much. So if you want individual covers, there's an option too. So
yeah, I'm kind of in that camp. Like I think like the box that you have is rad as hell, but I'm like
yeah.
I just like how they look like lined up in like my shelf. So
I mean, I love it, but I do not have unlimited space. So anytime I can condense some down,
yeah.
I got to take that option. I got to take option A here or something. But yeah, Paramount, they're doing an awesome job with these releases, and I'm so excited. I'm sure they'll get to the next generation cast next, like with like the Patrick Stewart movies and stuff. So I'm excited to hopefully get those in 4K, maybe next year, hopefully in the next couple years at least. So fingers crossed. My next title, this is one from MBD. I've actually really wanted to watch this for a long time, so I'm glad they re-released it. And this is The Fabulous Baker Boys, with both Jeff and Beau Bridges and the lovely Michelle Pfeiffer, who I love so much. This was previously released on Twilight Time, and it's out of print. And it was expensive, which most Twilight Time titles were, just because they were limited. But now NBD has saved this one from being out of print, and now you get a nice slipcase, so that's pretty cool. The Bridges brothers, Jeff and Beau, they play like a kind of a lounge act. They're like dueling piano players. They've been doing this for like 15 years. they built up kind of an act, but they're kind of like still low scale. They're like kind of struggling to book gigs and everything, so they think they need a refresh. They need to bring someone in to get the crowds coming again, and that they are like, oh, maybe we need a singer. So they start auditioning singers, and then one day Michelle Pfeiffer, she comes in, and of course, like, she's a little bit abrasive, she's a little bit like headstrong and everything, and kind of like rubs them the wrong way, but she has a beautiful voice. And then as things go along, the Jeff Bridges character, like, he starts to kind of have feelings for her as well, and it's kind of like interpersonal band drama and stuff, like performance drama. That's just kind of like boiled down to its essence what the movie is about. It's a really entertaining, like, just adult drama, like movies made for adults, of just like, it's these brothers, they have their own issues. Like, one is kind of like business minded, and one is more creativity minded. That he wants to like go out and actually like stretch his wings and like really stretch like the limits of his art, but like he knows that he has this comfort zone with his brother where they're making like a decent living, but what do you want to do with the limited time you have on earth, type of thing. And then the Michelle Pfeiffer character, she's also really interesting, of just like, she's also ambitious, but she's like kind of stuck in like stuck in a rut and trying to find her way out of her situation as well. There's just a lot of complex human dynamics in this, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really entertaining movie. It's a solid drama. I'm glad I finally got to see this. Even like at an hour and 53 minutes, I don't feel like it's overly long. It's just like, it's pretty nicely paced. The performances are really strong. Like, you can never really go wrong with like Jeff Bridges and Michelle Pfeiffer, and Beau Bridges more than like carries his weight as well. He's not my favorite Bridges brother, but he's put in some good performances over his lifetime. This release itself, it looks really nice. It's not like a new 2K or 4K scan or anything. I think it's probably the same high definition scan they had on the Twilight Time release, but it looks pretty solid overall. It has a audio commentary from director Steve Kloves. It has another, I think, two commentaries, a second commentary track, a couple of featurettes, and some deleted scenes. So it's not bare bones. NBD, they carried over some of the legacy special features, and they did a really nice job with this. So if you're a fan of this film and you have not picked it up yet, like the Twilight Time release, you should get this, because it's a very good release. And NBD, they really helped me out. I've been wanting to watch this, so good release.
Yeah, that's great. I know that that is one that I missed out on, and the Twilight Time was always really expensive on the
Yeah.
secondary market. So yeah, that sounds like kind of the perfect time to pick that up.
Mhm.
My so this will be my last title, and I speaking of movies that I've always wanted to like own on Blu-ray, and that is The Strange Love of Martha Ivers. And that is a really fantastic and I think pretty underrated film noir. And I know you've seen a lot of noirs. Have you seen this one?
I have not. I'm really excited to check it out,
Oh,
though.
it's good. So yeah, again, this is a classic, and in my opinion, it is so underrated from the heyday of the stylistic movement of noir. It is a steamy crime thriller that is gripping and is filled with a lot of clever twists and turns. Um, Nobody kind of really knows. I'm trying to keep it vague because I don't want to give anything away, but like everybody's sort of um like wary of each other, and everybody kind of thinks everyone else is out to get them. So which may or may not be the case. I don't want to give it away, but this has all the ingredients of a great noir: blackmail, murder, fatalism, and a romance that probably isn't going to work out that great. so yeah, the plot is again, very clever, and the pacing is amazing. The dialogue from Robert Rosalind crackles with equal parts doom and desire. I really cannot say enough good things about how great this movie is. So this comes from a new 4K scan, and it looks fantastic. I will say, I will put a little asterisk beside that because there are some moments that look a little rough. I'm wondering if the source material was maybe not in great shape, because there are some moments where there definitely is a lot of like scratches and debris, and there's a little bit of blurring. So unless they find really good vaulted materials and put out a true 4K ultra HD version, this is probably the best we're going to see it. But that's not to say it doesn't look great. I mean, I've seen this a ton of times on various home video releases, and this definitely is far and away the best it's ever looked. It's just, I wanted to say that because it's not perfect. Like, don't expect it to be like a Warner Archive level of, crisp and clean and clear. But as like I said, has a little issues, but still overall really good. And Alan K. Rode does a fantastic commentary track that lays out everything you kind of want to know about this movie, about this director, about the stars. I have to say, we don't talk about Elizabeth Scott as much as we should. She's amazing. I love her. That's her right there. She is kind of known for her film noirs. She's somebody that she like her star burned really bright and then she just kind of faded away. But I think that like my fellow TCM junkies really like know and love her, especially like noir fans. So amazing movie. Oh my gosh, you should try to see this as quickly as possible. Like, if I had one tiny complaint, I would say Kirk Douglas is amazing in this, but he's kind of underused. Like, his character's a little meh. But I mean, by design, but it's sort of like it I think utilizes like Kirk Douglas. Like, he's not as well used as like some of his other like noirs. But it's really good, great. This is coming off the heel of Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity, and she's kind of playing a similar character. And while I don't think it's as good as that movie, it certainly is excellent, and I think like in that same sort of class with Double Indemnity.
That's awesome. I love a good film noir, so I'm going to have to check that out sooner rather than later. My final two titles, they kind of are, at least have a general ethos, I feel, kind of a similarity. So first I'm going to start out with the Kino Classics recent release of Last of the Dogmen, which stars a Tom Berenger and Barbara Hershey. And I actually did not know much about this. I saw that whenever it was first released, I think this was released back in June, that people got really excited about it, and it actually sold out pretty quickly. And so it was like back ordered for at least a couple months, which is why it took so long for me to get it. So this actually is the rare Kino Classics release with a booklet. It's not like the most substantial booklet, but it has a booklet, which is like pretty cool because you have like some some essays in it. So good for Kino Classics for going that extra mile. That's pretty awesome. So this movie, it kind of reminds me. It's not a Western, but it kind of feels like one. It kind of is in kind of a similar vein to like it's like Dances with Wolves almost. It's Tom Berenger. He plays like a tracker who at the beginning of this film, he is like tasked with trying to find these three escaped prisoners, which, knowing nothing about the movie, I was like, oh, okay, this is what this film's about. This is about him trying to track down these prisoners, and like this whole time he's going to like be traversing this like mountainous region and trying to find them. That is not the case. That is only like the first like 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, because in the course of tracking these men, all of a sudden, like he doesn't really see quite what happens, but these men, they end up dead, and he kind of sees like a glimpse of something in the distance where he's like, did I see what I think I saw? And what he thinks he saw is like a glimpse of a Native American tribe that were supposedly like wiped out like 100 years ago. So then he starts teaming up. He goes to see this professor played by Barbara Hershey, who is like a kind of a scholar in like Native American history and everything. And they go out into this countryside to like figure out, is there a possibility that this tribe still lives in the frontier, because this wilderness, it's so expansive, there's still places that like most people are not seeing on a regular basis. And it's just like kind of their journey into the wilderness, and what they discover once they are there. And I won't like really go too much into it, just to preserve some of the mystery of it, but it's a really like entertaining, impactful film. There's like some like heartfelt drama. There's some like elements of like the characters getting over some of their like past trauma, getting past like some issues that they've had, and like really growing and like learning about like the land and the people on it and about each other. And there's like a romance between the two leads. It's really nice. It's very entertaining. And like I read that this director had only directed this film, which is a shame because it's really good. Like it's one of those types of like, this was made in 95. So it's like one of those like mid 90s dramas that's just like, they're not made as much anymore. If they are, they're turned into a limited series these days and like on a premium channel. But like just these like really mid-budget, like solid adult dramas, you don't get as much these days. And like this one's really well done. And I've never been one who's like really like tried to like seek out Tom Berenger films, but he does a really good job. He's a very like charismatic lead and like sympathetic lead. And also this has what is his name? The plays Red Foreman on that 70s, Kurtwood Smith. This has Kurtwood Smith on it. Yeah. Nice. And he's in a role, it's not antagonistic, but it's kind of like in the middle. Like he's a good guy, but he's also not on Tom Berenger's side necessarily. He's like his ex-father-in-law. So there's kind of some tension there. And Kurtwood Smith plays that kind of like dramatic role very well. So highly recommend. I think you would like this movie if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I definitely will check that out. I feel like it's just him calling everybody a dumbass, like on that 70s show.
Absolutely, yeah. he pre-visioned it, which is one of my favorite quotes from No Country for Old Men. But on that note, cool. Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm going further into the past to like more of a legit Western, and that is, I know you're not a watcher of the Mothership show, but I've talked about it. This is a Yellowstone spinoff from Paramount, 1883, which has everyone's favorite crusty old cowboys, Sam Elliott, along with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and like a assortment of other actors. There's some fun cameos throughout the season. I won't spoil for people who haven't seen it, but there's some big names that pop up that I was like, oh, they're in this? That's interesting. So yeah, 1883. This is all 10 episodes of I believe this is just a self-contained limited series just by the nature of what it is. There's one disc over here, and then there's a stacked disc on this side, which is not my favorite, but it is what it is. So 2 and 3 is over here, and yeah, so stacked on top of each other. Blu-rays are not as sensitive as 4K, so I can kind of forgive it, but I still wish it wasn't, but it is what it is. But this, for people who don't know, a lot of times spin-offs, it's interesting because they're just kind of set around the same time period, and like, oh, here's something like directly before or after this show. This is set about like a good 150 to 175 years before the events of Yellowstone. Well, I'm bad at math, so like 130 years pretty much. So this is the founding, or this is the story of the Dutton family from Yellowstone, their ancestors who kind of founded their compound that's like featured on Yellowstone. So their settling of the American West, and so all of the issues that comes with like settling a new territory and establishing kind of their place within this community that will eventually evolve to what we see on Yellowstone. And this like kind of concept was introduced in the latest season of Yellowstone. There was like a one episode that kind of focused, like had a flashback, but this series fully commits to like showing what happened, which it really enriches what you feel about Yellowstone. Is that it like kind of, you understand where this family has come from, and it kind of gives you like a more emotional ground to build from. I know this is 4 seasons into this show before they're giving you this, but like it's just kind of like an added layer of like, it's much different than Yellowstone. So you're not like, oh, they're just copying it, because it's like an old school Western, but it does add a lot to the current narrative of Yellowstone, which I really found impactful and I really liked. And this is packed with so many special features. They always do this for Yellowstone and like I guess the spinoff series too. There's like a behind the scenes of every episode. There's a 48-minute making of documentary. There's another 22-minute piece on like just like the performances and the characters, and then another 41-minute like kind of additional making of documentary. So there's like over 2 hours of just like pure special features on this that if you're a fan, you're gonna really enjoy. It looks great. This is like these shows like from Taylor Sheridan, they're always one of the best like looking shows on TV, and they sound great. So Paramount, once again, they did a really good job. If you're a Yellowstone fan, you'll want to pick this up. If you're just a fan of like kind of like old school Westerns in general, you don't have to be familiar with Yellowstone. It might help, but like it's a whole different thing. So it's like a good standalone thing as well.
Nice. Yeah, I know virtually nothing about that series, but everybody seems to love it. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really in sort of my wheelhouse, but I am glad that people like it. I'm glad that it's a thing people enjoy.
You
Maybe
don't begrudge me my happiness.
right. I don't know, like um I don't know. It's definitely not in my, I do like westerns, but I don't know. There's something that's so dude broy about it that I don't know.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but I'm glad people like it. So that's awesome. And it sounds like that's a really stacked release. And I love how, these releases are getting just not dumped on physical media. I like that it's
Absolutely.
a little bit of like love, from Paramount and Warner Brothers. So good job. Um, so yeah, I guess that is everything that we have to talk about. But
Yeah.
you had a great giveaway. So
Yeah. The Blu-ray version of Lightyear, we have 5 copies, and we just talked about a good array of like different releases. So let us know what you're interested in. We're also going to be running this contest over on our Twitter page, so make sure you tune into the Geek Vibes Nation socials. You can win one of 5 Blu-ray copies of Lightyear. Thank you to Disney for this.
yeah, that sounds amazing. So it's pretty easy to enter, as he said. Just comment below on what we talked about, and you could win.
Mm-hmm.
So do it. So that's everything. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to win. And just as always, thanks for hanging out with us.